Hello, and welcome back to my series where I've been talking about the characters in my book and giving a little bit more lineage and history and that kind of thing about them. We're going to continue that series today by talking about General Randal Nial. So I don't have artwork specifically done of the generals and that, but here is the closest thing I could find that to me in my head embodies General Randal Nial. So as you can see, Randal Nial is in his 40s. He is very fit, tall, muscular. He's got brown eyes and black hair, and he resembles his daughter Edith a lot. So here's Edith. And so Randal is the general of Warren in the books as well. He was Edward's guard in the prologue and in the prequels, and then in the actual series itself, he is the general of Warren, with Matthew Bishop being his second in command. Matthew was originally the general, and then when Randal took his place, Matthew essentially kind of went into semi-retirement. He didn't have to make the big decisions, but he was so respected that he was still there to help and give advice and handle things when Randal was busy doing the important things. He would kind of handle the day-to-day running of things. But so Randal Nial was born in Warren, and he studied and trained to fight and to lead men in that in Dayton. This is very common because Dayton is so war heavy and they're so good with their training, and that most really well respected and higher ranking military men in Warren actually went and trained in Dayton for a significant amount of time. Randal followed in his father's footsteps, and he wanted to be a knight. He is the oldest of three. He has two younger sisters who are married and are off living in the smaller towns in Warren, so he is the only son essentially to carry on the name and carry on the tradition of a Nial protecting a Warren. His job was, for the longest time, as I said, he was second in command to Matthew until Edward became the acting king, and then Matthew took a step back and allowed Randal to step in and have more of a job. Randal grew up with Edward. He also grew up with Bernard and Matthias, who Bernhard is Aaron's uncle, is the Earl Strobel, so is Cameron's father, and Matthias is Matthias Veramund, who is a very close relative and friend to Edward. So they all grew up together, which is pretty important to note because Randal is a descendant from the line of Nial. That's important because there were three families who founded the kingdom of Warren, and that was the Warrens, the Nials, and the Veramunds. So this is why the Veramund, the Nial, and the Warren of every generation grow up together and are very close. It also means that because Randal is considered to be Edward's Nial, because it's the main Nial of the generation, the way that Edward is the Warren of the generation, Edward completely trusts Randal. He respects his opinion. He trusts him. He's got his, Randal has the ear of the king, essentially. But because the Nials are known as being so brave and honorable in that, there is no concern ever of having noblemen having the king's ear the way that the Veramunds and the Nials do, because they have always been kind of like a trio that would help take care of the kingdom and just have someone for the king to bounce ideas off of and get feedback on if things are going the right way in that. So the other great thing about Randal is that he does have three daughters, and he cares deeply for Alex, and the guilt of having not been there to protect her and her mother the day that her mother was killed has been eating him around, has just been eating him up for years. And so when Alex is back, he is incredibly cautious with her, but also is protective of her. He has daughters. He understands the way that daughters are with their fathers, and so he steps in for Edward more than once when Edward is trying to push something on Alex, and Randal can just sense from having girls that this is not the right way to do this, or that this is not going to go well, and keeps Edward from making too many mistakes when his teenage daughter has come back home and is trying to adjust to life in the castle, which is very helpful. He's been married to Judith since they were very young. They have three beautiful girls. Abigail and Diana are their older daughters, who are married, happily married, and settled in the kingdom. One of them is married to one of the bishop's sons, tying the bishops and the Niles together forever. And they're just a really close, tight-knit family. Everybody knows Randal. He's very well respected. He's got the king's ear, but also his family is just very well respected. They are honorable. They always listen to people. They care what people have to say. And so that's made them a really popular family in the kingdom. And it means that he's always been very respected and people love having him around. So he's a fun character to have. Alex immediately takes to him, and to Edith as well, which is a delight to have because she's kind of got a little bit of suspicion about a lot of people, but she also is very hesitant and cautious of Randal because he has daughters. He does pick up on things from her faster than her own father or Matthew would. So when she wants to get away with something, she always tries to do it when Matthew is on guard as opposed to Randal, because Randal's a little too suspicious when it comes to teenage girls. He knows their tricks a little bit too much, especially after his daughter started a relationship with the bishop's son without asking, and so had to marry the bishop boy. And since then he's been extra cautious about his daughters, and so brings that protective nature immediately to Alex, which is fantastic for Edward. Not so great for Alex, because it does mean that he is watching her like a hawk. But yeah, if you've got any questions about Randal or any of the other Nials, please drop them in the comments. I would be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day, and happy Friday, and happy reading. Bye.